Hello, and welcome back to my channel. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, Zoe, haven't you been gone like quite a bit? It's been like 4 or 5 weeks since you've last posted something, and you would be correct. If you're wondering what happened to us, we got COVID, as well as our spouse did. It was a situation where normally we are wearing masks. Normally we take precautions and we stay away from people because we're aware that there's still a pandemic going on and we're not like idiots. But we end up having a situation where we end up getting stuck inside with people for roughly an hour or so. And because it was such short notice, we did not have the N95 masks that we normally wear. We ended up having to rely on just like some cloth and paper masks. And we got COVID. It first started with our spouse getting sick, and they started saying that they were having, we noticed that they had a runny nose, and we checked their temperature. They were running a low fever. So we went and we got some COVID tests, and they tested positive. And sure enough, like 2 or 3 days later, we tested positive as well. It was not fun. We don't recommend it. It was pretty awful. Luckily, we ended up having a very mild case because we are vaccinated. We have gotten our boosters. We have kept up on it. They did exactly what they're supposed to do and help make sure that they reduce the symptoms that we felt. Now, COVID, hate this thing. This virus sucks. Spike protein, it laid us out for quite a bit. So just to describe a little bit of our worst symptoms that we experienced with it, we were very tired the entire time. We ended up running a mild fever, thankfully. It was like 102. But the worst for us was the body aches and the coughing. The first or second night that we had it hurt. Our entire body hurt, like just all over, muscles hurt. And it was difficult to sleep because we were hurting so bad. And then we had a constant cough, constant nasal drip. And for a couple of days, we were absolutely miserable. We had to closely monitor our fever to make sure that it didn't go up high enough that we would have to go seek emergency care. But we were able to weather through it. And it does not appear that we have long COVID. However, the one thing since then is that we have had a slight lingering cough periodically. So from this point forward, if you notice in our videos that we might cough periodically, it's not, we don't have COVID. We have recovered from it. It's been, we're going on 3 weeks out of full recovery. So it's been 5 weeks since we initially got it. I know that, like, some of the more conservative people that might watch this or come across this might be thinking like, damn it, we wish it came so close to taking her. Nope, still here, still going to be making videos, still going to be pissing you off. And if you're, on the left, then there's going to be plenty of content coming out for you to enjoy because we are feeling definitely wanting to make more videos. It's been a while. We got some rest. There's a lot of stuff that we wanted to talk about. There's so much that has happened in the last 5 weeks that we haven't gotten to discuss. But that being said, I do want to focus a little bit on the pandemic because a lot of people act like the pandemic is like non-existent or that it went away or it stopped. It hasn't. It's still here. People are still getting sick from COVID and some people are still dying from it. And I just want to, the area that I work in has a lot of conservatives. And unironically, there were conservatives that would say that their family member got sick with COVID and died. And one person had lost their mom, a sister, and a cousin to it. And when we asked them about it, they were like, oh, they had other medical issues, other underlying health conditions. And while that could be true, they're like, so COVID doesn't kill people. That's not true. That is false. In the same way that diabetes doesn't necessarily directly kill someone, you could argue that, well, their heart stopping is what killed them. Or the nerve damage from the neuropathy, which is a byproduct of the disease over time, is what ended up killing them. It wasn't the diabetes itself. And you can kind of like play this little game where you can act like every single type of comorbidity, none of them actually kill you. And it's only like your heart stopping or getting, your brain shutting down. That's what really kills you. And I like it that they want to get that pedantic when it comes to when are you technically dead and what killed you. But they want to hand wave away all the impacts that COVID can have on people or that just sickness can have, especially with the rise of this anti-vax movement. on the right. Now, I want to be clear about this. Some of you might notice, like, well, Zoe hasn't, if it's been going on so long, you haven't really made any videos talking about COVID-19. I've mentioned it here and there, and I've talked a lot more about it on Twitter. The problem is, the one time that I got suspended from Twitter, I got cancel cultured, oh my God, by Twitter, was because I said a joke about COVID. And I got suspended for, it was like 15 hours or something like that, with a warning that if I did something like that again, my account would be permanently terminated. Therefore, I have not joked about COVID, nor have I been talking about COVID since then. Instead, I just share articles about it, or if somebody asks about it, I'm like, yes, it's a real thing. We should take it serious. Follow the CDC guidelines and take precautions. That's it. All I'm going to tell you is flat out exactly what the CDC says. So don't come looking at me to tell you some like, give you some down low information about it or anything like that. I'm only going to repeat what the CDC says and that sort of thing, because I don't want to lose my media accounts because of some stupid jokes. So I understand the frustration where some people around this subject might say that there might be some over policing going on when it comes to talking about COVID, or whenever it comes to like making jokes about COVID. But think about it this way. If a social media company cannot tell the difference between your joke and rhetoric that people say, and in this day and age, with the fact that there are COVID deniers and the fact that there are people like anti-vaxxers that will say like vaccines don't work, which is not true. Vaccines absolutely work. The fact of the matter is, if you can't tell the difference between somebody who's posting that as a joke and somebody who might be posting it and saying it seriously, and you can't just say, oh, I'm just joking, bro, that's why they're going to have to take action against your account. And at least that's how we felt about it. So we're like, you know what? We do believe in personal responsibility. So we just will not do that anymore. Now, there are some ways that if you feel like you are sick, or you might have a nasal drip and you're like, I'm not sure if this is COVID, like how worried should I be about this? They do sell like rapid COVID testing kits, which you can get at like any of your local supermarkets. This is what we had and what we used. We bought a whole bunch of them so that we could periodically test ourselves to see, when we were still positive, if we were recovering, and how those things were going. Let's talk about like symptoms of COVID real quick, because I think everybody's pretty familiar with them, and we told you like what was worse for us. But you see on here where it says loss of taste or smell, that did not happen to us. And I want to be clear about this. When they give you a cluster of symptoms like this, you don't have to have all of them in order to have a virus. And just because you have a virus, it doesn't mean that every single one of those symptoms is going to manifest exactly how they say. Because for us, the muscle or body aches and the fever and the cough, that was the absolute worst for us. The congestion or runny nose, sore throat was also bad. We had a little bit of vomiting, and we definitely had nausea. It was difficult to eat the first couple of days. Shortness of breath never happened to us. Let's see here. A headache. Yes, we had a headache through most of it. Diarrhea periodically during it. It was pretty awful. And obviously, if you are having diarrhea, you want to make sure that you stay hydrated as always. And be aware that when you vomit, it can lower your blood pressure a little bit. So you might feel a little cold after vomiting, and if you're constantly vomiting and you get low enough blood pressure, you can actually like have seizures and that sort of thing. So definitely be aware of this, still be taking precautions. Now, some people are going to say, well, Zoe, if you were vaccinated, why'd you get COVID? Aren't the vaccines supposed to stop you from getting it? I've been asked this numerous times by like more conservative family members that are aware that we are way more left-leaning and that we take this serious. So I just want to clear up some misconceptions about this real quick. Number one, getting the vaccine does not prevent you from getting COVID. Now, in the original version of COVID, just the COVID SARS-2 before it mutated into Omicron and all this sort of thing, the original vaccines did help prevent getting COVID, but the virus mutated enough that Omicron, especially the BA variant, is still highly contagious, even if you have a vaccine. On top of that, getting boosters are essentially like helping keep up your vaccination. Now, some people have asked me, and I swear this is true, they've said, if the vaccines don't stop you from getting COVID, then why bother to get a vaccine? And it's because the vaccine's purpose is to reduce your symptoms, not prevent you from getting it. And while you are sick with COVID, having the vaccine, because your body will react more quickly to it, you can have a lower viral load. And therefore, when you are coughing and sneezing and this sort of thing, you are not spreading as much COVID particles as you would otherwise. So this is a distinction that has to be understood. If you're somebody who is like doubting vaccines or their efficacy or whether you should get your fucking vaccine, there's no reason not to get it. You'll be safer anyway. Some people say, "Oh well, if I get sick with COVID or I've already had COVID, I don't need the vaccine because I have antibodies." While that is true, the antibodies are only good for up to 3 months. Other than the antibodies pretty much don't do anything after that. You lose that. You lose them because your body does not indefinitely keep producing them because you're no longer sick. However, the vaccines, you will maintain antibodies for up to 6 months. Then at that 6-month period, you go and get a booster and you're essentially just re-upping your vaccination so that you're continuously keeping those antibodies in you so that if you do get sick with COVID, your body knows exactly how to respond to it very quickly. And hopefully you can recover very fast and your symptoms will be mild like ours and our spouses were. Because what you don't want to happen is you don't want to get COVID, not have a vaccine, so your body has no idea what to do with this spike protein or what it even is, and then you end up having a moderate or more severe reaction. Because I can't stress this enough, we're still in the pandemic. A lot of hospitals, at least in the area that we are in, and we live in a metropolitan area, a lot of hospitals around here are still at 90-95% max capacity constantly. There's no guarantee that if you get moderately ill or severely ill with it, that you're going to go to a hospital and they're going to have room to take you in. It's possible that you could get turned away or sent to another hospital when you desperately need care. So right now, especially with like more diseases spreading, like up in New York where they're having an outbreak of monkeypox, which is now spreading further across the fucking country, and polio, it is relevant to keep in mind that these hospitals could get easily overwhelmed if we do not maintain a healthier population, if we do not take precautions against these viruses, against these diseases, which we absolutely should. Get your vaccinations, stay up on it. If you want to go to the store, buy some COVID rapid testing kits like this. I don't know if you can see that very well. Maybe too much light on it. Anyway, they're fairly inexpensive. I think it's like $10 or $15, maybe $20. But it's good to have on hand. That way, if you start feeling ill, if you start running a fever, if you start having a runny nose, you can go ahead and you can test yourself at the house without having to go to the hospital. And you'll know very quickly when you test positive, and that way you can let your workplace know, hey, I've come down with COVID. What's the procedure from here? Depending on what your workplace is, follow state guidelines as well as the CDC guidelines on it. Hopefully everybody stays well. I apologize for my lengthy absence. I was definitely not intending to take like a 5 to 6 week break from making videos. I know this video is going to be like very mild compared to my normal content. This is more of like an informative thing and an update on like, hey, where have you been? What happened to you? Well, we got fucking COVID. We're going to try to produce a lot more videos. Hopefully we'll have like semi-weekly content going for the next few months. And then in November, we're going to be changing careers and we're going to be moving somewhere and we're going to be able to put a lot more effort and a lot more time into this channel. And at that point, our video output should go from like once a week to not only are we going to try to have multiple videos coming out like, weekly videos, we're also going to try to start doing a lot more streaming because streaming is a lot of fun. We enjoy streaming. It seems like the comments from y'all on the videos are positive. And then people that have watched it and have reached out to us like on Twitter, they usually have good things to say about it. They seem to enjoy it as well. And I mean, who doesn't like some good reaction content and slapping some conservatives around? But I think that covers it for now. The next video I do, we will get into a lot more serious subject. We're going to talk about some mental health stuff, and we have some updates to do. It'll probably be a more intense video for us because we're going to be a lot more open about some stuff going forward. But we will see you in the next video. Bye.